Interestingly, I was first a photographer, then I became a banker, then I went back to photography. But the very first time, which was around 2011, my friend was doing a wedding. So we had just cleared campus. He had gotten a job to do a wedding, and he didn't have a photographer. So it was like, Mumo, you know how to take photos.
There are people making millions out of photography. People who have built brands that serve the biggest clients. Today we meet a photographer based in Nairobi, Kenya.
My name is Mumo. I am a photographer, videographer. I am also a content creator on YouTube. Interestingly, these days I also tell people I'm on TikTok as well. So yes, what else about me? I'm a former banker who worked there for a number of years, and now my work is creating content online.
If you had asked me in high school to choose between banking and photography, I would definitely go for banking. So, what convinces somebody to leave the banking sector and invest everything into photography?
Interestingly, I was first a photographer, then I became a banker, then I went back to photography. But the very first time, which was around 2011, my friend was doing a wedding. So we had just cleared campus. He had gotten a job to do a wedding, and he didn't have a photographer. So it was like, Momo, you know how to take photos, of course, among his circle of friends. And then he asked me to come in, gave me the camera. I think it was a D40 or D60, Nikon D60. That's what we started with. He had been given by a friend of his. So we went, did the gig itself, was paid some little money. I went home happy. And that was the start of me thinking maybe photography can become a career, because, you know, you've gone home with some money. But then in the house, I'm being asked, so what are you doing? Because this photography thing is not a consistent job for you. And so I had to now look for a formal job. So that time I actually made applications to all the insurance companies in this country. And I remember there were 42 applications that I made to those insurance companies. And then I started making now to banks. And the very first one that I made to a bank, I was called for an interview, went and did the interview, and got the job. So I landed now into banking, but still at the back of my mind, honestly, even during my very first year, I wanted to still do something to do with photography. So I'd look for time, especially when I was in Nairobi. I'd look for time after Saturday working, look for a small gig here, do a birthday here, do a shoot there. That's how it actually started. Before later, the side hustle started making money until to a point where it was like, I need to concentrate on this. And so left the banking job as well to now focus on photography full time. Yeah.
As a beginner, landing your first client isn't easy. So you gotta be smart about it.
First corporate client I did, I think, was in 2018 or 2019. It was through a referral. So I'm part of a business networking group where our work is just to help each other get referrals and get business. It's called Business Network International. And there, one of the members there was a Rotarian. And his wife worked in the organization where I was going to get the job. So first he called me to do photography for the Rotarian event. It was a small event, and it was not those events that you do and you expect to make a lot of money, but it was just a normal, casual social event. So I went. Coincidentally, his wife is also a Rotarian, so she was also there. Now, when her company, because she works in marketing in her company, when her company was looking for a photographer for their end of year event, she recommended me, among other people as well, to tender for that particular job. And then because I was able to use now the work I'd done before for other people, plus this Rotarian inventor I'd done, that's what I was using to create my company profile. I got that job. And then the philosophy I have, of course, is once you get one job, you make it look like you've done 50 of them. So pick the best photos from that to get the very next client. I've worked with quite a number of organizations in that space.
Having established such a brand, Mumo has to work with other photographers under him. But since photography is a gig to gig hustle, he has to do it in a way that benefits his crew but doesn't leave him dry.
Most of the people who work under me don't work full time for me. The thing I realized early on was if I try and keep people with me, that means they become employees. And when they become employees, they also become expenses for me, because there's no way you can run a business without paying NHIF, NSSF. You have insurance as well to think of, and payee and things like that. And then if there is no work at that particular time, then that money that I'm going to pay you with is coming from my pocket. So the model we work with in my company is you get paid per project. So when there is work, there's money to be made. If we don't have work at that particular time, everyone survive on your own. Look for jobs wherever you are. And I encourage it a lot, because there will be some clients which will not be good for me, but they can be good for you, depending on the pricing that you have, the market that you're also looking for, and things like that. So if you are able to get your own clients and feed yourself and build your brand as well, no problem. At the end of the day, we are all helping each other. So I call in professional photographers who have their own companies. When I have a job, those are the people that are on my team. And some of them we've worked from 2016 when we started the company until now. So we are already good friends, not just the business relationship that we have.
As a service provider, sometimes the client will say that your rate card is too expensive.
That happens sometimes. The thing is, if I'm able to understand the scope of what we want to achieve and what success looks like for the client, then most of the time I will not be expensive. I'll give you an example. If someone wants to sell a luxury house, they know this house is 10 million bob. Their commission is, say, 2% or 3%, which is around 300,000. And if they spend 20,000 or 30,000 on photography for marketing, and they know they're going to get 200,000, 300,000 from the sale of that apartment, it will not be expensive for them. So the people who they end up saying you're too expensive, one, they may not have thought that photography can be that huge amount, which is something that is very common, because photography is a very creative kind of thing. And so because people have good phones these days, they feel that sini picha tu unapiga, and so I'm not in that fight. Like, I'll not have that fight of it's only photos you're taking, because I know it's not just photos I'm taking. When I look at anyone that I'm taking a photo of, in my mind, I can already see how that final photo is supposed to look like. Even before I set up lighting, even before I pick up my camera, I already know if I place this person like this, and I place this light here, if I open this there, if I station them like this is where the leading lines are. All those things I'm able to see. So by the time I'm taking the photo, it's just a manifestation of the thing that is in my mind. If I'm doing pre-production, because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing for a shoot for any single client, all these things are costs to me as a business person. And so if I'm unable to tell and show the client the value I'm providing, then that's when they'll complain about how much it is. But when they are able to see what the final product is, and if we walk the journey with them, by the time we are through, then they'll be like, now I get why you're pricier than other people, because I have taken photography not just as a job that I do. This is my way of thinking that I now put out into the world. So any photo that I take is a representation of who I am and my creativity as well. So I try as much as possible, especially during discovery, before we even get to pricing, from the way I speak to you, from the pitch deck I present to you, you will already start to see where we are going price-wise. So if like when I'm doing a wedding, right now I don't send packages out. I used to do that. And so someone will pick your package and then pick someone else's package and go and compare. When in truth, it's not an apples to apples comparison. So what I do now is I don't have packages. This year I don't have packages. So I listen to you first. What's your dream for the wedding? So we are doing a discovery call so that I understand this is what success looks like for you, even as a wedding client. So that by the time I understand all those things and see what do I now need in order to fulfill this dream that you have, I tell you, in order to facilitate this, this is how much you're investing in me, because people don't spend, they invest when they're dealing with me. And just that way of thinking helps me to bring people who will not complain about the price tag. Yeah.
As a former banker, Mumo has used that experience in his photography.
When I was working at the bank, one of my major jobs was advising people on what to do in business. When I now started the business is when I realized by there talking is very easy. But the things I'd been taught about how to run a business, how to scale a business, and those were the things that I was now telling my customers, I am able to incorporate them in my own business. And even surrounding myself with other business people who do not necessarily have to be doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they're also running their own companies. Doing that has helped to grow the business. So working at the bank, I was able to know this is what a bank looks for when they want to give you financing. So if I want to look for financing, I already know what the bank is going to look for. So I make sure that all those things are actually there. And I'm able to grow my business to a point where the bank can actually look and say, yeah, that's a business that we are okay with lending money to and we can grow the relationship with.
When you start a business, you are mostly involved in every part of it, making the product, marketing, selling, customer care. But when your business expands, you get a team to handle the crucial part, the business.
Keeping clients happy as we are doing. Because the technical bit of taking good photos, of doing good video, of directing a shoot, that's the easy part. And as long as I understand what the client wants, I'll be able to execute that. But now dealing with things like buyer's remorse, which happens especially in the in the social event space, where you do a wedding, you've spent 3 million bob, then during honeymoon is when it hits you, by the way, I've just spent 3 million shillings. So as the event is going on, I keep reassuring the client and keep showing them what it is we are producing, because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to convince your mind that you actually spent the money well. Because if you are able to believe, which is true when you've spent money with us, if you're able to believe that you spent your money well, even the photos look good to you. But if you feel like you are ripped off, or you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, then even if I take the best photo in the world, it won't matter to you, because you'll not be seeing that, because there's an emotional attachment on how much you spend. So my biggest job is actually customer service. That's the one thing that up to now I have not delegated. But I still, even with the people that I work with during an event, I make it clear to them that this is what we want. This is a reaction we want from our client. So if I'm doing a wedding at the beginning of the day, I usually come and tell the bride, you know what, today is your smiling day. This is the best day of your life. So whenever you see me or you see one of my photographers, I want you to smile, because I don't have any other day of doing this again, and there'll not be any other time to actually execute this. So if you smile, then my work becomes easier. That's what I tell them. And when now we've done the photos, and every time they see me, they have smiled, when they look at the photos after the event, they will see that smile and feel, yes, I spent my money well. Yeah.
It's not easy starting out as a photographer. With Momo's experience, you can learn some tips.
If you are an upcoming photographer, number one, you don't have to buy all the equipment as you're starting. I think that's one of the things that I had no idea about. In your local area, like I know here in Nairobi, it's very, very easy to get a camera, and you can actually go hire a camera and go and do a job. Like, you don't have to own a camera in order to do work. It's a bit of a hassle to go and hire, but if you want to get into the business, then by all means go start there. Secondly, always make sure that the jobs that you do, you remain with something in your pocket. It's very easy to want to compete on price, because that's the lowest barrier to entry. But if you price yourself too low, you will never grow as a business person. Because if you want to scale, you also have to think of, I have hired for this long, and now I need to buy my own things. And as well, if you actually want to advance and have employees in future, have a studio in future, then you have to think of, you need to raise your prices. Thirdly, I'd say focus on collaboration. If you can see other photographers who are at your level, who you guys are just hungry for growth, work together. You can have your own company, each of you. That's not an issue, because so many of us have been taught to have my own brand. But I think there is a big space for 5 photographers or 10 photographers coming together, forming a company, and then now each of you looks for clients from wherever. And whenever you get clients, you all work on that particular job and make money. And that can be a very sustainable way of you scaling. So you have this one company at the top, which is a generic photography name or a unique photography name, and all of you are photographers and even directors in that particular company. Some of you are videographers, some of you are graphic designers, some of you are editors. You can all work together in one company and grow that way. Then every single person, like we have 10,000 plus photographers on Facebook, then doing that, you'd rather be working together and getting bigger jobs. I think number 4 is don't be afraid of getting into a space and doing work for free. It's not advice that I would normally give, but sometimes if you see an opportunity to get and make inroads into a particular niche, you can offer your services for free so that you first get into the door. But then after you have offered your services for free for that particular client, please create an invoice that's full price, and then you give a full discount, and then hand that to that particular client. So if the job was going to cost 100,000, for instance, and you've decided to do it for free, create an invoice for 100,000, and then give them a discount of 100,000. So the amount they are paying you is 0, and then hand it to them and tell them, this is the value of what I have just done. So if you've done a very good job, most likely they will call you, and most likely they'll pay you the amount that you had on that invoice. So that can be a way of getting into that space. Number 5, which is the last thing, don't be afraid of making mistakes. You grow by making mistakes, and this experience that you're getting will make you a better creative. It will make you a better photographer. There are times that we forgot that we were shooting in 480p for a client, and we had to learn from that. And so all these mistakes that you make, the next time you'll have one extra thing that you're checking. You'll have one other thing that you have taken care of that you didn't know before. So when you make mistakes, don't be afraid. Just learn from that mistake, and then on the next job, you'll do a better job. That's my advice.